what is going on? Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Deal Room. I'm your host, Gabe Bowling, and in today's episode, I have an awesome local Tampa entrepreneur, real estate investor, Simon Lerner, today on the show. Welcome, Simon. Thank you.
Bro, thanks for having me on last minute. I know we've been overdue to sit down, but finally here.
So backstory, we actually don't know each other really well. That's what we're going to take the time to today in front of everybody. It's like a live date for the first time. Who are you? What do you do? But in front of everybody. He's a super successful entrepreneur in my eyes. He's local in Tampa. He's really well connected with everybody locally. I don't know anybody locally. I have the Deal Room community where we have people across the country. We threw an event one time, and then Simon came out to kind of support it, just say, hey, I'm local, you're local, we should probably get together at some point and create a relationship. And that was a seed planted. We did our next event, we continued, you had your event, okay, cool. And now we're here. And I think that's just the power of networking, social media, kind of coming together. You're doing a lot, we're doing a lot, so why not get together, figure out
just trying to open as many doors as possible for, for you and for myself, because you never know what door you walk into and what opportunity is gonna present out of it. And not only like what door, it's like what door does that lead to, because doors.
And what door does that lead to?
Yeah. So and next thing you know, you own over 100 doors.
Yeah.
So
very cool. So why don't we start with, who is Simon Lerner today? What have you done? Kind of get people excited, because you're not here by accident. You're very young, and then we'll peel it back to actually how you got there.
Sure, man. So real estate is actually not the only thing I do. I run a variety of businesses. On the real estate aspect, I own $9.5 million worth of real estate right now. A lot of it is residential, just tapping into multifamily now, but my foundation in real estate has been real estate development, short-term rentals, and essentially in the residential field. And on top of that, I run the biggest entrepreneur community here in Tampa called Tampa Entrepreneurs. We host free quarterly events for business owners, entrepreneurs, and it's actually a 501c6 nonprofit organization. So
really?
That's not a for-profit business. That's
Very
more
cool.
of a positioning leverage play, which we can dive into
a
little bit from there. I also run a short-term rental business, as I said, so obviously that goes on top of the real estate. Not only do I own real estate, but it's also now a hospitality and marketing business. So we do 7 figures a year plus in revenue from that stream of income. I run a digital coaching consulting company for those looking to start in short-term rental space called SDR Navigator, essentially helping people start, scale, and automate a short-term rental business, similar to what you guys do with the Deal Room, and then other personal investments and things of that nature, partnerships and whatnot, where I'm mostly not the operator. I either fund the businesses or come in as a LP in some way, shape, or form. So
very cool. Yeah. Sounds like you're doing a lot. And for everybody that's curious, how old are you?
24.
Yeah, just let that sink in. I thought I was doing a little bit at a young age, and then you get around the right people. Sometimes they're super big. They think you're like a super small fish, and you think you're doing a lot, and it kind of humbles you. And then sometimes you think you're doing a lot, and then you get around people that are 24 and doing a whole lot more than you. So thank you. Why don't we, because it sounds like a lot, you're doing a lot, you're doing well, you're making a lot of money, you're doing investing, and you're growing a lot. I'm sure the future is going to look very bright for you. Where in the world does all this start? You're born right out of the womb, entrepreneur, doing deals, or walk us through your story.
Cool, man. So for those of you guys who are not familiar with who it is that I am, my name is Simon. I'm 24, as Gabe has mentioned. A little bit of a different background than probably a lot of people that were in the show, because I'm not originally born in America. Was actually born and raised in.
So funny. Eldre was just on the show. It was such a really good podcast, because he's from South Africa, coming from poverty. He sees and then he gets to America, and it's the land of opportunity. So I can't wait to hear about this.
Yeah, man. So born and raised in Russia. Parents split up when I was 2, and then I lived in Russia until I was 13 with my mom. My dad was still present in my life when I was growing up, and then at 13, me and my mom, we moved to America to pursue higher education in college, because for her, growing up in Soviet Union, education meant freedom, and education meant opportunity. However, nowadays, obviously, education is so commoditized that it's more so knowing where to get the correct education, opposed to just having education. Because back then, the only place where you could get good education was college, universities. Obviously, we can dive into why that has changed over a period of time. But in Russia, we were actually pretty well off, because my dad, he ran a billboard advertising business back in Moscow, and then he was supporting us. Lived in a decent house. Went to private school in Russia. Had I would say like upper middle class lifestyle over there. You know, had somebody like drive me to school and pick me up from school. Had somebody like cook food for us, like fold my clothes, all that kind of stuff. And mind you, like we had a couple that lived with us and did all those things. But in Russia, they were getting paid like $700-800 a month for a couple, right? Yeah. So the American dollar and money just went so much farther there. Yeah. And then at 13, when I moved to America, overnight it was like a drastic transformation where now I'm 13, moved to New York because we had a couple of friends there. And overnight you go from going to private school, somebody driving you to school, somebody cooking you meals, folding your clothes, to now you were taking public transportation, you're living in a 2-bedroom place. Yeah. And life has just went from like upper middle class to like barely like lower middle class. Yeah. And you have that epiphany of like, oh shit. Yeah. But I'm super grateful for that, because I would say what separates me from a lot of people is that I never had that limiting belief of like that lifestyle or like life at those levels isn't possible, because I kind of saw it growing up in some way, shape, or form. So when I got to America, obviously it was different, but I never had.
But you had a target. You were like, okay, you were exposed to it.
Yeah. So we moved when I was 13. Didn't speak much English. Didn't have any friends. So a lot of time outside of middle school, high school was spent on like personal development, books, hustles, not really like socializing. I didn't really have many, I would say, like friends till I was like 18, senior year of high school. Just like didn't fit in. Would come, to a football game, bring a soccer ball with me, and everyone's like, "What's this kid doing here?" So
that's funny.
Do
you still speak Russian today?
Yeah, Russian at home.
Can you say something cool?
What would you like me to say?
How do you say, I want to buy apartment deals and make money?
Я хочу купить апартаменты и заработать деньги. There we go.
Let's clip that. That is awesome. That is super cool. Very cool. I apologize. I just like to have fun.
No worries. So anyway, that was the story of me coming to America. But then obviously that didn't go far, because I ended up dropping out of college.
Really?
Yeah. Essentially went through middle school, went through high school. Through high school, I'm already, pursuing slightly like entrepreneurial like side hustles. Shoveling snow. I'm selling things on eBay. Because to me, at a very young age, not by choice but by circumstance, I had to become the man, because it was just me and my mom. And I saw my mom struggling, and I wanted to help and contribute.
I was just about to go into it. There's got to be something that happens. Information, exposure.
I would just say it's just deep down knowing like that you're responsible. You don't have a father figure around. You have to become the man in the household. And from a very young, early age, I would say like 14, 15, I wanted to be the Rock, like the Rock Foundation. Yeah. Not
I thought I was like the Rock. Interesting. Okay.
Like the Rock solid foundation for my loved ones and people around me to like be able to fall back on for support, awesome. Whether it's financial support or support, just like be there for them. Yeah. So that's, I guess, the role I played for people around me.
Got it.
And at 18, graduated high school in New York. Went off to college to pursue engineering.
Really?
First was a mechanical engineering degree. Was mostly for my mom, because it was like either go be a lawyer, doctor, high-paying job, engineer, something that can contribute, value and get a high-paying job out of school. Was doing like a 3-year, 2-year program at Columbia University. It was like a very supposedly good degree and all that kind of stuff.
Prestigious. Yeah. The Ivy League stuff.
Yeah. It was like 3 years at a more of a private university, and then after, if you do well, you then get like initially accepted into Columbia. So it wasn't like straight into an Ivy League. Got it. Essentially, after 6 years of that, I really like hated every day of my existence doing that. So then I switched to business. I was like, I want to be a businessman. So, and a little backstory, this is like 2018. This is when like the first like pop of crypto is happening and stocks and all that stuff. Like I'm obviously already entrepreneurial, so as I'm driving to school, I'm listening to business podcasts. I'm investing in like self-education. I'm like trying things on my own. Nothing is really like sticking or working just yet, but I'm still pursuing things. I'm like trading stocks on my own, like
very interesting.
Trying to figure things out and like seeing what path do I want to go down, and just trying a bunch of different things. So when I transitioned from engineering to business, the second semester of freshman year, I started taking a lot of business classes, economics, things like that. And one day after class, I go to my economics teacher, and I'm like, hey, really enjoyed our lectures today. You were talking about Dow Jones and S&P 500
Yeah.
and just how you can compound money. I'm actually like trying to trade on my own right now. I have these stocks. I'm like owning Tesla, and that's, mind you, like $120 stock pre-stock
Yeah,
split,
yeah,
like
yeah.
1,000% ago. And I'm like, what should I do with my portfolio? Should I buy more of this? Should I like sell it? Like, give me some wisdom here. I'm really passionate. He's like, Simon, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I actually can't give you any advice on what you should do with your portfolio because I personally don't invest in stocks. My wife doesn't let me. She thinks it's gambling. I'm like,
Oh my
I'm like,
goodness.
wait a second. So I'm here accumulating $50,000 a year in debt to learn investing from somebody who personally doesn't invest.
Yep.
So he's not a practitioner. Why am I here?
Yeah.
And that's when I threw in the towel. I was like, I need to drop out and then
That hit you.
yeah, get out of here. I was like, I can't like look myself in a mirror and say that I'm learning from somebody who doesn't know their shit. It's like,
Yeah.
um,
Makes a lot of sense.
and to
too.
me, the analogy was like the apple doesn't fall far away from a tree. So if I'm learning or growing in a tree that's rotting or is a small tree, I'm never going to be a big apple on
Yeah.
a small tree.
Yeah.
So that's when I kind of called it quits, and I was like, let me drop out. Parents were obviously furious about that. I was like,
Yep. I could only imagine.
yeah, I was like, Mom, this is a reversible decision.
Yeah.
If things like, let me take a year to do this.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, I can always go back to school.
Right.
And that's kind of like what's sold her
Yeah.
on that. And then I was like, all right, so something was wrong here with the way I'm learning. Let me go out there and now seek education from mentors and people who actually have results that I'm trying to get and who are practitioners.
Yep.
And that's when I also like 2018, 2019, when all the online entrepreneurs started popping off. Grant
Yep.
Cardone,
Yeah, I mean,
Ty Lopez,
was
here,
the time of the.
here in my garage,
Yep.
all that kind of
I
stuff.
remember.
And that's when I found out about the first business conference I went to, which was 10X Growth Con 3.
Really?
Yeah.
In 2019. That was
2019.
we went there.
Exactly.
That was funny.
So I spent the little money I had to fly from New York, went to
Yep.
Miami to go to 10X Growth Con 3, and then went through that event. And I was like, this is so much better than college. I'm learning from billionaires and millionaires that are going
Yeah.
stages, but I'm like, you know what? This is still flawed because this is a big pile of shit because everybody that goes on stage gives you a bunch of one size like fits all motivational fluff and
Top
tries
5
to
to 10%.
it
Yeah.
tries to sell you on a course or a product or an offer, and I'm like, this feels sleazy and scammy, and I just paid $5,000 to be here, and now you're asking me for
Another 5.
another 5 to 10 grand to
Yep.
just show me what's behind the scenes. And I'm sure if I pay 5 to 10 more, they're gonna ask for 100.
A little bit more. Yeah.
And the thing is, there's 30,000 people in that room, so I can't go up to Grant and say, hey, let's sit down one-on-one, and I'm going to show you what I'm working on, and you can
Yep.
give me practical advice, like for me specifically.
Yep.
And the advice I give on stage, it has to be very broad and general because they have
There's 30,000
a
people there.
65-year-old Nancy and a 24-year-old Gabe, or
Yeah.
I don't know, 20-year-old Gabe at that
Yeah.
point, sitting in the same room. You can't give them the same advice, right? Because they're at different points of life.
Yeah.
So that's where I was like, okay, so like college is not it. These events are better because people are actually practitioners,
Yep.
but it's still not the same thing. And one more thing on the events, I was like meeting people, networking, trying to, find other like-minded people my age. And all I ended up with next morning when I reflected on it is a big stack of business cards.
Nobody remembered you.
And I pick up a business card. I'm like, who is Alan?
Yeah.
I have a
You
phone
don't
number, I have a
remember
business
them.
card. I have no clue who this person is. So I was like, also, this thing is flawed of like, everyone's coming up to you. It's so transactional. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, I do this. Here's my business card. Hit me up if you ever need
It
this.
is literally a funnel, but in
Exactly.
person.
But then I was like, what's the whole purpose of this? Now I have 20 business cards. I have no clue who you are. I didn't build a relationship,
Yep.
which actually is like one of the things and reasons why we started Tampa Entrepreneurs. We'll dive into it in a second. But then I was like, there must be a better way than the college and these events.
Yep.
I can't find a better way. I'm sure other people feel the same way. Let me start my own thing.
Yeah.
And then I started a company called NetCon, which I was like, let me host my own event. Let me invite my own
Interesting.
speakers, and let me create an educational environment where this is how I think I should be learning and how I think other people should be learning and gathering this information. So then I created a conference style like networking event, NetCon, networking conference.
Yeah.
So
It makes sense.
I started that, and I had a couple of people speak there that were very, very successful entrepreneurs. Some I met at 10X Growth Conference as attendees. For example, Fernando, one of our MCs for the event, he hosted like 300 plus conferences before. He was a
Wow.
grants man. I connected with him. He opened doors to like
Yeah.
3 or 4 more speakers. I'm like, can you connect me with this guy and this guy? And that's how I got my first intro to networking and meeting people. So essentially, we had this event. I was like, let me bring people that have all the skills that I think are valuable for me to learn: real estate, marketing, e-commerce, dropshipping. And the whole gist to separate this event is, number one, nobody was allowed to sell anything. You can't go on stage and like offer your
Yep.
product or service. You're not allowed to mention it.
Yep.
And the speaker to attendee ratio was very small. It was like maybe 80 attendees and like 8 to 12 speakers. So it's like a 1 to 5, 1 to 6 ratio. It's very intimate.
Yeah.
And then it was also very application based and practical opposed to motivation based.
Yeah.
And what we had is, we had breakout rooms and panels like you guys had at your events.
Yeah.
And for example, if somebody's teaching e-commerce, they can literally get a round table of 8 or 9 people who want to learn about that subject. Everybody whips out their laptop and the guy walks around and he's literally like, click this button and adjust this ad set and bump your ad spend by this much and you will see an instant result.
Yeah.
So it's like very practical, hands-on.
Yes.
So
that's what people need.
That was what really separated us, and I'm like, this is the environment that I want to learn in.
Yeah.
So I did that. That was 2018, 2019, going to 2020. Did conferences in New York, LA, Miami. And mind you, I'm like 18, 19 at the time.
Yeah.
So,
like, this is insane. You at this point, you're like, I'm all the way into this entrepreneurship thing. This is how I'm gonna create the life.
Yeah. But I also had like this ticking time bomb of like, if I don't have anything to show for it in a year, I'm going back to school. So, it was really fun for me as well.
Yeah.
I don't think, obviously at certain times business can be tough, but I think it should be like, it's supposed to be fun, like fun. If it's not fun, you're not doing the right thing.
The right business.
So did that, and then COVID hit.
This is
2019, 2020.
COVID created the most millionaires, entrepreneurs by force because of the impact.
Yeah. If people knew like how to leverage it correctly.
Yeah, most people didn't.
So COVID hit, and I was like, I had a conference planned for Miami already, 100 people committed and everything. Had to refund everybody. I'm like, where do we pivot? What do we do? So I was like, let's do Discord, let's do Zoom, let's build this community online. Let's take this whole thing online. So then I started a thing called Netcom Mastermind, which was the exact same thing, but now we increased the frequency from doing events like every 2-3 months to now let's do this weekly and have a speaker come in digitally to give a presentation. We had Dan Fleischman come on. We had people that run and have sold billion-dollar companies, CEOs from Fortune 500 companies, whatnot, influencers, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And every week we'd have a different topic for discussion. We'd have chats for like different subtopics of entrepreneurship, stocks, real estate, marketing, like all these different chats. And I was pretty much the pioneer of it all. So
that's really cool.
And we charge a monthly subscription for that. And then we had, the highest point, a couple of hundred members, for that, close to like over 500, less than 1,000 members paying monthly recurring to just be a part of that.
Very cool.
During COVID. And then beginning of COVID, moved down to Tampa because I was like, nothing left for me in New York. It's cold. I need a vaccine passport to go to Chipotle and to the gym.
I got to be 6 feet away from everybody.
Had that.
Why Tampa? Most people went to. I was in Grants. Everybody came to Miami.
Ex-girlfriend of mine was going to go to University of Tampa, and then I moved down to Tampa, and then she stayed in New York. And then the first day I moved down here, I didn't know a single person. I was staying on a guy's couch that I met on Instagram. While my furniture was shipping down, and then we broke up the first day I got here, and I was like, okay, well, new beginning, fresh start. But then also like Tampa, I think when I was starting NetCon before my second event, I actually got invited to speak at a different event here in Tampa, and that was like my first introduction, maybe 6 months before moving to Tampa, and then I had a couple of friends here that when I moved here were no longer here. But I was like, here we are. So Miami also seemed just like too many distractions, too flashy. And for me, at this point in life, people are like, why do you still stay in Tampa? I'm like, if I want to have fun and I want to do stuff, I drive for 3 hours, but then I can go back to sanity and focus.
It's Lambo to the right, homeless shelter to the left in Miami. That's it.
Yeah. But also in terms of networking, it's really hard to network in Miami in my eyes because number one, people are so stuck up. But number two is there's ebbs and flows of people that come and go. For example, I just went recently, I go to the gym, I find this guy, we struck up a good conversation. I'm like, hey, let's grab a lunch or let's grab another workout. And he's like, I'm actually from Canada. I'm visiting here for like a week and a half. I'm not going to be here. I'm like, I just spent 40 minutes talking to someone who I'm probably never going to see again because he's like from a different place in life. But in Tampa, like 90% here are like local. And there was a higher chance of me doing and building something with those people. Additionally, it's also like in Miami, unless you're Drake, Lil Baby, or Messi, if you go to like a restaurant, like nobody cares. You know, you walk in, you're like, I own 100 doors. You're like, this guy owns 1,000. This guy owns 10,000. Like, you're nothing.
You can sit at the kids' table over there.
But here, I feel like if you just stick to one thing for 3, 4, 5 years and get really good at it, any room you walk into, people know what you're doing. Like with us, with Tampa Entrepreneurs, any room I walk into now, people are like, oh, Simon runs Tampa Entrepreneurs. I know like a lot of people I walk into, people are like, who does multifamily here? People bring up, you know, my friend Sam Silverman, people bring up your name and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, we've only been running this for a year and a half. Like if you were just good at one thing, this is a really like high growth environment where you can really get to the top, I guess, you know, very easily. And then from there, it's like if you want to be a small fish in a big sea, you can go to Miami, like different markets.
Then you can move. Yeah. Very cool. So. Very interesting. All right, so 2020 hits. You do a lot. At what point? So what's first? Is it the real estate development? Is it e-com? Is it
so first it's so I moved down here, and then mind you, at that point I had no clue anything about real estate. Doing very well with my online businesses, and 2020 tax season comes. I go to my CPA, and he's like, "Yo, $350,000 in taxes."
Really?
I'm like, "Come again?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "So how do I not do this next year?" He's like, "Well, you have 3 options: you either move to Dubai, you move to Puerto Rico, or you learn about real estate and just stay here." And I was like, "I'm not gonna get bullied into moving somewhere where I don't want to live. I literally just moved here 2 months ago. Let me figure out this real estate thing." So then I was like, you know, asking him about real estate tax strategies, learned about the Augusta rule, and I was like, okay, cool, let me buy my primary home. So I bought a primary house, you know, 4-bedroom new construction home, 2020, paid like 800 grand for it, worth 1.8 right now.
Wow.
House hacked it, lived for free, had 2 roommates who were also like entrepreneurial, had a master bedroom and office. They had 2 other ones. I'm like, okay, so I'm living for free, I'm owning this asset, it appreciated 300 grand while I was like living in it. Somebody's paying down my mortgage, and I also got to, you know, depreciate it, and also, you know, rent it to my business for 14 days under the Augusta rule and save 20 grand. I'm like, this is pretty dope, you know.
Sounds like a good deal.
And then I was like, okay, what's next? I need more tax write-offs. This only gets me so far. So then I was like, studying all different aspects of real estate. Obviously, you can make money a gazillion and one ways. You can be an agent, a flipper, a developer.
That's a good thing and a bad thing for most people because it keeps them stuck most of the time.
If you spread your focus too thin and you try to do everything, then you get nowhere. But essentially, I was looking at all these things, and for me, the biggest thing was I want to maintain control of my time freedom to focus on my other businesses, because I don't want this to feel like a second job or something where I need to allocate, you know, 40 hours a week to it to be successful into it. So I was like, which one of these approaches would work well for me? And I started making a pros and cons list of like wholesaling, flipping, developing, doing Airbnb, doing Section 8, doing long-term rentals and all that kind of stuff. And then based on the pros and cons list that I made, I was like, probably let's try the development thing, because I was like, I have enough capital to fund the projects. You know, I don't have to be a general contractor. I can, you know, I'm pretty good at team building with and networking with the communities that I've built. I don't have to be there on site if I have a project manager and a general contractor. I get a new product that you know, everybody wants.
Best in the market.
Exactly. I don't have to deal with like unknowns behind the wall, like what's behind the drywall from the guy that I'm buying it from.
Electrical, plumbing, all the
exactly the MVP. I essentially get to work with a higher end tenant. If I end up renting it, I don't have to risk getting shot trying to collect Section 8 rent. You know? So all these things that I added up, I was like, oh, these things are cool, but I know nothing about development whatsoever. I have no clue what to do. So I was like, let me do what I always did and just FTFO, figure it the fuck out. So I was like, I have this money aside. Let me work with my realtor. Let me find a good, like, what I think project.
A good deal,
And I literally bought a piece of land for 400 grand cash. Well, it was a teardown, was a double lot teardown in Tampa that I bought for 400 grand cash. Knew nothing about development. I'm like, well, now that I own this, I have to figure it out. I have no way, like, other than this, because now I like.
Did you at least go to YouTube?
I mean, I was like YouTubing. I had a basic understanding, but I've never done it, so it's like, you know, it's like
everything.
foo-foo.
Yeah.
It's fugazi until you like actually
Actually,
start doing it. You're like, oh,
you're signing the paper, sending the wire. You're
exactly.
like, oh
So
shit, I'm doing this.
did that, and then for me, I always operate out of the nuisance of like clarity comes from progress.
Hmm.
You know, you don't have to, and that's what I think stops a lot of entrepreneurs and people is the analysis paralysis that they have. They overanalyze everything. They think they need to know 1 to 100 every single step that they're going to take. For me, it's like I only need to know 1 to 5, and then once I get to 5, it's like everything that you've compounded from 1 to 5, and all the things that you've learned here, all the people that you've met here. Now that's going to give you clarity to go from 5 to 10.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth.
I was
and a lot of people don't start because they're like, I don't know how I'm going to go from 0 to 100. It's like you saying right now, I don't know how I'm going to be a billionaire, so I'm not going to start whatsoever and just try.
Yeah.
But you first become
We'll
a
get to
millionaire.
100, and then we'll end at 100.
So
I was just having a conversation with somebody about how they make decisions, and at what point, how much information do they have to have about this decision they have to make before they make it? And the most successful people that I've studied and know and meet and talk with is like they're at 60 to 70% of the information that they need, and then they make the decision. And if they have that extra last 30%, it's too late. And if they had it, it wouldn't have been worth it anyways, because you actually take the action, and then you find out that you didn't know everything and you have to pivot anyways. For you, what do you think? Is it 50, 60, 70, 80%? I know it's not 100%. For like a deal. Let's say it's a development deal in Tampa, you know the location, you know the deal, or the area, and you know how to pull these things off. How much do you need to confidently
I
make
would
that
say
decision?
also it's just like, for me, it's risk versus reward. If I'm wrong, like what is my risk?
What's the
And
downside?
and for me, it's like on that deal, for example, I'm buying it for 400 grand. It's 2020, 2021. Interest rates are low. Markets are all-time highs. I'm like, if I'm wrong and I don't want to do this, and for some reason I can't figure it out, I'll just put it back in the market and I'll either break even because things are going up, or take a 20K haircut after like commissions and fees because I can, sell it for what I bought it for. So for me, it's like the downside is relatively very small on this, and there's a clear, exit strategy and it's reversible. So as Jeff Bezos says, like there's reversible and irreversible decisions. If it's reversible, don't like think about it too much, just execute. If it's irreversible, then that's something you need to like really, really take a lot of time about. So I also like weigh decisions based on like how easy is it to like undo or reverse, or get out of it.
Makes
But what I've
a lot
learned
of sense.
through, I guess, time of being in real estate investing in successful and unsuccessful projects is you need to focus a lot more attention on the buy, because once you buy, like 90% of your effort needs to go in the buy, not the sell, because it's very easy to buy anything. It's very hard. Like
What
it's
what
very hard to
happened
buy
for you to be
something.
or have that level of conviction behind that statement? What did you lose money on a deal? What mistakes
No,
did
no,
you make?
right now I have a condo that I bought from my mom for like $1 million cash, right? That I wanted her to live in. Now I built her a home, so she moved out of it. And I'm trying to sell the condo. And it's like been listed for 850 now,
Yeah.
and because the HOAs after that Miami collapse, like
Yep.
double
Research that. Yep.
the insurances went up, and nobody wants condos anymore.
Yep.
And now it's like been on market for a year, and it hasn't sold. So I'm like, I have 900 grand of equity in something. I'm down 100 grand, and I can't sell it because I didn't focus enough attention on the buy.
Yeah. Got it.
So this just solidified for me. Like it's very easy. Like if you have $1 million right now, you can go buy and close on 100 different projects. But it's like if you need that money back out, it might be very difficult to get out, especially if you buy the right thing. So you need to be very like intentional on like all your money happens on buy. And I know you preach that too. It's like if you buy the right deal at the right price at the right time with the right terms, like that's where you make your money.
Yeah.
Not on the rehab, not on exit. Those are like all subject to change, but the majority of like your money is made the moment you like made the decision to buy.
And the price can't change. Once you buy it and you sign the closing statement and you paid $1 million and you go to refinance or sell it, we got to pay this loan off, and there's no changing that. Very cool. So where does the short term, because you have the short term rental stuff, where does that come into the mix?
So that's when I completed the first development round, built 3 single family homes right next to each other on a triple lot that we bought. That, mind you, took like a year and a half to figure out. So from land, not knowing anything, to now completed 3 homes, and then refinancing them.
I was just about to ask, what ended up happening?
So bought the land for like 450 grand, put 3 new construction homes on each lot for, I think my construction cost on all 3 was about 1.2 million, so about 400K per home. And then if you divide the lot cost was about 150 per lot. So per home I was in for 550 each. And then they appraised for about 875 each.
Wow.
So I walked into 300K of equity in each property. I went to the bank and
Good deal.
and I refied. I pulled all of my money out of it. So
Yep.
I essentially
Tax free.
on the properties, quote unquote, with like no equity in there. My mortgage payments right now, I still own these deals, are about $4,900 on each one of the properties, with about a 550K note on each one of them. And I was like, okay, now that before that, my idea was like, should I sell these properties or should I rent them? And I was like, if I sell them, I'm kind of in the same place where I was, because I don't have an asset I can write off, depreciate, or get any tax benefits off of. I'm in the same position needing to trade time to go find the next deal, which I don't have a lot of time. I don't have an asset that's going to appreciate over time, can't like depreciate it, can't pay down the loans. So I'm like, it doesn't make sense to spend all this time to just, make the 25, 30% returns and then, just sell it.
And pay the taxes on
it. And pay short-term capital gains on top of that as well. So I was like, this is dumb, let me keep it. So I refinanced it, and then I put the properties up for rent. So I put her up for long-term rent, and the properties rented for $5,100 a month each. And my mortgage was $4,900 a month. And did that for 2 months, and I was like, well, I'm paying down my mortgage a little bit, but this isn't going really far, because I'm making $100 a month on property after, actually losing, because I'm like, I don't have time to manage it. I was paying a property manager 10%, so I was actually, losing $400 a month. I was like, this ain't, the best idea.
Right.
So I was like, do I sell them now or do I try something else? And I'm like, I do have the know-how, the hustle, the grind. Let me try the short-term rental route and pivot from long-term rentals to short-term rentals. And now, just for reference, that same property that was renting for $5,100 a month is doing about 19, 20K a month as a short-term rental.
I'd say your cash flow went up just a smidge.
Yeah,
just a smidge.
I mean, now I'm able to afford, to pay a short-term rental property manager 15, 20% and still cash flow 8 to 10 grand a month from property. So my whole thing was like, long-term rentals is for old boomers who don't want to lift a finger, like don't have the know-how to do anything, just want to sit on a couch. I'm like, I'm not at the point of being in the Maldives just sipping a cocktail. I have the grind, the hustle, like to figure out. I'm obviously protective of my time, but I can put some effort into turning this into something else. So that's when the pivot happened from long-term rentals to short-term rentals for me, because I was like, I want to keep the assets. I don't want to sell them, but I also don't want to long-term rent them. So let's try the short-term rental route. And that's what I landed on. That was like really good. So then I was like, how do I stand out in the space? And like, I started reverse engineering, like what makes a great short-term rental? How do I get more ADR, which is the average daily rate? How do I increase the occupancy and all those things? Really diving into the nitty-gritty science, and like breaking down every single thing. So I realized that one of my very obvious discoveries was the more people you can sleep, the more people you can, the more money you can charge, because people can now split the cost of
hey, let's
renting
go on a trip. Let's
if you can split host 20 people and charge $1,000 a night, it's $50 a person. Not that much. So I was like, how do I increase sleeping capacity? Well, I need to have more bedrooms. So then I was like, in those 4-bedroom homes that I built, I turned them into 6 bedrooms. I just added, 2x4s, put a bunch of drywall, now enclosed the second living room, and now I have 6 bedrooms. And added bunk bed, like full bunk beds instead of queen beds. And I was like, now I can sleep 16 people. My ADR went up 20%. I was like, oh, this is like a science. And then I started tweaking the SEO and the titles and the descriptions and pictures and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I'm really like seeing my inputs control the outputs, like me tweaking some inputs. And I was very fascinated by the science. Like you tweak this input and this happens to the output. So I got pretty good at that. And I was like, what is my edge in this whole thing? And now kind of my edge is I have a unique product, because I was like, let me go find more of these short-term rentals. And I went on the market here locally, and I was like, let me find like a 6 or 7, 8-bedroom home under 1.5 million, because that's the price point that it would make sense, like short-term rent. And I couldn't find anything, and then I started thinking, I'm like, a normal family doesn't need 8 bedrooms in their freaking home. All normal single family homes are 3 to 4 bedrooms. Unless you have 40 kids, you don't need 8 bedrooms. So I was like, so nobody out of my competition also that's buying like on a public market has any 8-bedroom homes or 10-bedroom homes or these mansions here in Tampa at least
Yeah.
at the price point that they need to be for it to make sense, which is like under 1.5, 1.6
Yep.
million. Anything over that, you just can't justify, the average daily rate to, really cash flow well.
Yeah.
So I was like, that product doesn't exist, but I have the development skills, and since I'm developing, I can
It's so
customize the
crazy to
plan.
see how everything is like shaping together. It started as a tax problem. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, interesting. I should just start in real estate. And then you do it and you're like, interesting. This worked. I got all my money back tax free, but it's like cash flow. Interesting. We should do the Airbnb. And then you're like, interesting. Now I have the development and it's just
Yeah.
it's super cool to see that come together.
Guess problems and solutions problems create more problems.
Yeah.
So, and then as long as you're inquisitive enough to solve these problems, that's where success lies on the other hand of that.
Yeah.
So then I was like, let me try to do this thing where I build a custom product, and since I'm building it from the ground up, I can customize it to be
To exactly what you
knowing
want.
all the information, all the variables that yield the best
Yeah.
ADR. I can customize this property to be exactly that, and nobody else is going to have that because
Yeah.
even if somebody buys a $1.3 million house, they're going to have to spend a year and another 500 grand to make it that.
Yeah.
And I can just make it brand new from scratch,
Yeah.
just that everybody else wants.
At your cost too.
Exactly. So, and now that's what I'm doing. That's kind of my edge is like build 2 short-term rents. So
Yeah.
now we build using the proprietary formula of what we have that really moves the needle to
Yeah.
output the highest yield.
Yeah.
And we short-term rent those properties. Now we've optimized, how do you manage it more effectively? How do you not spend time in it with automations and systems and whatnot? And actually, after this podcast, I'm meeting a student of ours in Seminole who just bought a $1.4 million house.
Really?
To do the same thing. And we're
Awesome.
helping him like optimize the sleeping capacity and whatnot. And he actually bought it for the same thing, tax problem.
Really?
Right? The guy, out of everything, I'm just stunned how much money you can make with like different stuff. Man sells trading cards. Makes about $2.5 million a year doing that.
That's insane.
Selling like Michael Jordan trading cards.
Trading cards.
And whatnot. So has a personal brand, has a business around that, has a coaching program. They were doing like 6-7 million in revenue a year, making like 2.5 million off of that.
Yep.
Big tax problem. Needed to do cost segs on those properties.
Yep.
Yeah. And the other thing is like, now that you're, in that you can cost seg the.
Yeah, I was just about to go to the Airbnb tax exemptions are different than the real estate professional status.
Well, I do have both. So I have real estate professional status. I do cost segs, and I also have the mark-to-market election on my, tax.
Got it. All right, this is a lot.
Yeah.
I'm and you're 24. That's insanity to me. Let's finish up with the Tampa Entrepreneurs, and then I want to take a step back because you're very cognizant of the value of your time, and I want to kind of dive into
that's why I have this here. Your time is limited. Right?
Oh, very cool. I got a tattoo. I'm married to my wife. I got a tattoo right here with her initials. I don't come across too many people that, one, value their time, but then two, at such a young age, know the value of time and then build your life around it. So let's go into the Tampa Entrepreneurs, and then let's take a step back and just talk about entrepreneurship for you.
Yeah, man. So Tampa Entrepreneurs, a 501c6 nonprofit organization. Our mission statement is to host free local quarterly events for business owners and entrepreneurs, not to just do business with, but to do life with. Because what I've noticed is all these business events I go to are, as I said, very transactional, very salesy, and it all predicated on
It's a funnel. It's a funnel. It's literally
going to all these other events and feeling, being taken advantage of and not building any quality relationships other than business cards. Like, I want to know people and have a relationship with them and know about them and what their values are before I even do business with them.
Right.
So I was like, I want to create that community. So I have co-founders in that that I met when I was hosting NetCon that either were attendees or speakers and like really good friends of mine. We're sitting down one day, and that's obviously after I was already in Tampa and I was missing the in-person events because we shifted online, but then I never came back to the in-person events after COVID ended. And I hit a phase of like, I'd say not like depression, but more so like burnout, maybe like end of 2022, because everything was so digital.
Yeah.
And I was missing the physical like connection with people. And I was just like staring 12 hours at screens, looking at dashboards, numbers moving. And I was just like going insane. I'm like, it's really hard to justify progress, I feel like, in online business, because all you do is you track numbers on the dashboard. And that's why I like real estate so much, is because you have a quicker feedback loop and you can see things transpire very quickly. For me, it's like in development, I know I start a project, I pour a foundation, cool, I can see it, I can
Yeah.
feel it. I have walls now, I have a roof, I have tenants, I have money coming
You
in.
see the progress
Yeah.
being made every
With
day.
online stuff, it's like, cool, you know, your ad spend went up, you got more clicks, more views, but like you can't feel it, touch it, smell it, like
Yeah.
unless
Yeah.
for you, it's probably when you packed a room with 200 people at your in-person event, you're like, crap, now I see
It's
like
the
this is
impact.
real.
Yeah, the
Exactly.
impact
Yeah.
that you see that.
But when it's like online, it's kind of fluffy. Even if it's on Zoom calls, you don't
Yeah.
see the magnitude of it unless like you're standing on stage in front of 200 people talking about real estate and everyone's there cheering for you and supporting you. You're
Yeah.
like, now I kind of feel it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really hard in the online business world. So I was missing that, and then me and my co-founders, we started Tampa Entrepreneurs because we saw that issue. It started as a test. We're like, is there product market fit for this? Do people even want to be like part of a community? Is
Yeah.
there a need for that? Do people feel the same way? I don't know. Let's not invest any like money into it. Let's do a test. And then all of us invited like the top people, like very good curated network that we all had from our friend group. And I hosted something at one of my Airbnb properties in the backyard. And we had on a 2-week notice, I think 95 people showed out to like a backyard party. That was March
Yeah.
of 2023,
Mhm.
March 18th, 2023, our first event
Wow.
at one of my Airbnbs, and then just had a 4-hour like networking mixer.
Yeah.
And the whole point of this is these events are community focused. They're not about me. They're not about speakers. They're not about one single individual. It's not about Gabe. It's not about
The
Greg
environment.
Cardone.
It's
It's
the
about
environment.
everybody that's in the room.
Yeah.
And it's not, you know, presentation focused. It's not, you know, so much education. It's like, let's build non-transactional relationships and then
Yeah.
see where that goes from there. Because what I found valuable is also bringing people from different industries that are doing different things. Because I've noticed when I go to just a real estate event, and it's all realtors, everybody has the same problem and nobody has a solution.
Yep.
All realtors are like, I want more clients, more leads, more sales, but you're surrounding yourself with 100 other people that have the same exact problem,
same thing.
and nobody in the room has the answer. But now you put yourself in a room where you have a marketer, you have a content creator, a videographer, and that creates value because now you connect with someone. They're like, I can run your ads for you. I can do your content strategy
Yep.
for you. I can manage your social media. I can do lead gen for you.
Yeah.
And now your problems get solved. So I was like, I want to create that room. I don't want to be like very niche specific at this point.
Yeah.
I want to have a broad audience, and this is like the top of funnel.
Yeah.
And that's why we grew so quickly, is because we attracted different types of people.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
events were free.
Yeah.
And essentially we went from hosting a 100-person event at my house. 3 months later, we did American Social with about 300 people in the summer of 2023. Then we did Shelter, which is a private airplane hangar here in Tampa. Had a 700-person event, maybe a 500-person event there. Did the Motor Enclave. Had a 750-person event there. Did Salimar in Midtown, 2 floors at the hotel. Had about 850 people there. And now we just finished up the Museum of Modern Art downtown Tampa with 1,500 people.
Yeah. How is it growing so quick? Is it just word of mouth? Is it organic? Is
We've
it
never
paid?
we've never ran an ad. We've never like done anything. Our tickets for last event for the general admission sold out in about 2.5 hours. You know, that was 1,300 people GA, and then you know, 200 VIPs took like maybe 6 days to sell out. And yeah, for us it's always been I guess Hermosi equation, like give so much, or like Gary Vee equation, give so much and ask for nothing in return. The first 3 events, like the entire event, like everything was free. People would come in, they'd meet great people. We'd give everybody a free drink ticket. So imagine giving 500 people a free, like, you know, open bar tab, like drink.
Go drink. It's on me.
Yeah, it's on me. So you build so much like reciprocity that people want to give back in a way.
Yeah.
You know, we did that. We had like catering, food, giveaways, and yeah, so that's how we grew. And then the third event, or the fourth event, we noticed that, hey, there is people who want more. And I'm like, we give so much away for free. What are people going to think if we, like, I want to be in a position to ask for trust me with $150 and see what you're going to get then, because you get so much for free.
Yeah.
And that's what sold people on, you know, the tickets to our event, because they're like, I'm getting so much for free. I can imagine what I'm going to get if I pay $150.
Yeah.
And now thinking about it in hindsight, I'm like, if we started the event and it was paid from scratch and all the tickets were paid to attend, there wouldn't be sticky traction, because people don't have like that residual trust. They're like, I've never heard of this, never experienced it.
Yeah.
What if it's not good? Why should I pay? But now that people have gone to 3 or 4 and they see the amount of value and growth they've happened to it, people have met business partners. We have 2 people who got married because they met at our event. People have like
That's awesome.
We had
Isn't
people
that
for
cool to
last
see?
night come from Dubai, from Canada, from Australia, just
Yeah,
to be at the freaking event. So it's like
that's
insane.
insane. That is really cool. Really, really, really cool
Yeah.
to see. Um, your last event, it was like 1,500
Yeah.
people. That's insane. And you started in March of last
Yeah,
year.
exactly.
So what's the future of that look like? Because that's a
Yeah,
really big mission.
there's again some things that I don't like to talk too much into the
Yeah,
future.
just
Like,
do.
yeah,
Just
like to
do.
do
I
and
know.
the results
But you have a
speak for it.
target. You have a
But I do
target.
have targets,
Yeah.
and the thing is like there is like opportunities to pivot. So the direction is still like, as I said, clarity comes from progress. We're
Yeah.
figuring out a lot of the details of like where to take it with this leverage we have
Yeah.
now. But I'll tell you that there's many ways to go about it. So let's break down vertices of how this business could work. So for example, we could start now that we have this top of funnel of people from all different industries that come into a 1,500 person event. We've had a lot of interest being like, I do want the speakers and I do want the coaching and I want topic specific stuff from both our sponsors and our attendees. Our sponsors are like, I'm a real estate company, I'm a title company. I'd rather be in a room of 150 people that all do real estate opposed to me having to decipher from 1,500 people who does real estate and who is a fashion show beauty model or whatever. I don't want to talk to her.
Yeah.
So there's, smaller, more intimate topic specific events we can branch out and do like once a month at a location, maybe have it all of a paid event to have a higher net worth and higher like quality individuals come out to those events specific that want to discuss marketing, e-commerce, whatever. Very similar to what I have experience in building in my first company, Netcom, just in person.
Yeah.
But that's linear thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, let's think horizontally. What can this turn into? Well, with all the pull and leverage we have, we can create like a media company, right? There is, let's look at bar stools. Can we create something like that, right? Like there's many vertices. Oh, we can go the WeWork co-working space route, and like, can we create maybe a co-working space in all cities and now be the hub, like not just Tampa, and expand from there and create a partnership with a WeWork and we do the top of funnel like provide the people and they service the location. So it's like there's many
but you have the top of the funnel established and you can kind of build and cater to whatever.
But that's the thing. I always look at businesses of like leverage. What's my leverage? And I view like all opportunities of what levers can I pull on and what order sequentially should I pull on them. So for example, how I see it is that there's two permissioned types of leverage and two permissionless types of leverage. So permissioned type of leverage, somebody has to give you permission to use it. So for example, it could be capital and crew or like people. So somebody has to give you permission to access $100 billion or $10 million to invest into a deal. Somebody has to give you permission to lead them if you're building a team. But then there's also permissionless types of leverage, which is content. Nobody has to give you permission to record 100 pieces of content or 10 or 50 and post it on 10 platforms, 50 platforms, repost it twice a day. It's all free. Same with code, right? You can build an app. It works on the back end. The code does all the work for you, and you don't have to get permission from anybody to write a couple of lines of code and have it work. And if you look at all big companies that exist, they, to some degree, deploy all four of these types of leverage. Look at Meta or Amazon. Meta has tens of thousands of employees. That's your crew, right? The C. It has access to hundreds of billions of dollars through their stock. They can raise money at any time, sell off stock, issue more shares.
Money's never an issue for them.
Exactly. But then also it's a media company, so content, right? That's a permissionless type of leverage, but also code, because when you launch an ad, you're not talking to a person. You're clicking on buttons and the machine charges you money and does things on the back end and it generates some revenue. Right? So those are all the four different types of levers that are deployed in business. So when I look at my business, whether it's real estate or TE, I'm like, what lever can I pull on and at what order does it make sense to pull on it? Like for us, with, for example, Tampa Entrepreneurs or my real estate business, I'm like, should I pull on the code? I'm like, no, I'm not there yet. Maybe I need to pull on the capital, right? Get more money, through, get more people, content, doing that. And then once I have those types of leverage established, I can then go and jump into SaaS or, build those type of things. Because I can't build a SaaS without money and without people and without distribution, which is your content. So code for me is typically like always the last piece of leverage.
Very interesting.
Stack on top. And then the rest, it's like, what lever at what point does it make sense to pull on? Like for us with T, we have the people side figured out both internally. We have a team of 15 And then, externally we have 1,500 attendees, so we have the people
Yeah.
side figure out. Now it's like, can we pull into content and media distribution,
Yeah.
and can we pull on capital and
Yep.
like get access to capital? And we've had people come and like, hey,
Very
we want this
interesting.
in Orlando. Can you like franchise this? We
Yeah.
will give you 500 grand to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Huh.
you know,
Very interesting. That's the first time I've been exposed to it. What is it? What are the four levers? Just so people can see it.
for like acronyms, I would say 4 C's. So it's crew, or like
Yep.
people,
Yep.
capital,
Yep.
content,
Yep.
and code.
Got it.
So yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you for doing that. All right. Let's take a step back. How your mind works very fast. I can just tell. You're a very smart guy, and you think like very fast, and it comes through in the outputs and the results that you have. Where is this just all self? Like you went out, you read a book, studied people, mentors. Like how did you develop yourself into who you are today? Because if you compare you to most average 24-year-olds, it's just not even a comparison.
I would say
Even like 30-year-olds, it's not like it's just not a comparison.
Thank you, man. I would say a lot of it really stems from personal development and your habits and behaviors, because you are what you repeatedly do.
Yeah.
And I think for me, lately, I've gotten a lot more like clarity mentally. I've been sober for 8 months now.
Really?
Going sober till New Year's. Just cut out drinking completely. It started off as a 75 hard challenge.
Really?
That I did, over the summer.
Yeah.
And then once I completed it, I was like, I'm not gonna keep doing the 2 workouts
Yeah,
a
yeah,
day type
yeah.
of thing.
But it
It's
changed.
sustainable. But I was like, why not just push till New Year's with drinking? Like
Yeah.
it's not like I drank a lot. It would be like socially maybe twice a month.
Yeah.
But still, I'm like, the cost of you drinking is not just the day you drink and the evening you drink, but it's the following morning where
Yeah.
you sleep in 4 hours more and you have a
Fog.
headache and like
Yeah.
the fog and whatever else. So it's like that stuff for me. I'm also big on shortcutting my learning curve by paying others, and that's why I DM'd you. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, let's get me the TDR, right?
Yeah.
And just constantly investing in myself in just different avenues, and trying to get ahead by shortcutting the learning curve.
Yeah.
And
What would you say?
say
So
learning other people's expertise in a way. And that's,
well,
as I said again, a form of leverage.
yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of people out there that are, and they should be skeptical for like paying for self-education and all that stuff because you went through the kind of like the terrible scammy experience at these big webinars or the conferences. What would you say to the person that's listening right now that's inspired by all the stuff that you've been able to do um, about investing into themselves and like self-education and buying relationships and paying the money to get into the room to meet the right people? How important has it been for you?
It's been I think it moved the needle a lot for me. For me, the biggest thing with investing in myself, and that's what I appreciate other people like, well, why should I join your program, or why should I work with you on a closer basis? I'm like, number one, you're getting someone else's judgment that has been in a game for way longer than you. That's the most valuable thing, is someone else's judgment.
Yeah.
Right. I think that came with their expertise and all the things that they're going to tell you to do, and especially not to do. It's a lot of my thinking lately has pivoted of like, what shouldn't I be doing instead of what I should be doing. But the other,
Interesting.
which we'll break down in a second, the other thing I think is that when people pay, they pay attention.
Yeah.
And the thing is, everything that we teach, whether in TDR or SDR Navigator or like any other gazillion programs that exist, it's free, online, available.
Yeah.
But once you put money on the table, you show commitment.
Yeah.
Right. I want to work with people who are committed,
Yeah.
who have skin in the game, and not just somebody who's going to half-ass.
Yeah.
And then by paying, you're now surrounding yourself with other people who also have access and resources and share the mindset to invest in themselves and pay. And
Yeah.
you're surrounding yourself with growth-minded or individuals who all see the value in it, and now you can do big things with those individuals, opposed to if it's somebody that's small-minded and just wants to extract value without providing any value.
Yeah. Let me take you out for coffee.
Yeah,
Buy you $3.
Let me
$5.
pick your brain.
Yeah.
My favorite
Oh my
one.
goodness. Pick my brain. Ask Alicia.
And my response to that: you can pick my brain if you can pick a payment method.
Yeah.
So.
I'm gonna have to use that one. That is so funny.
Yeah.
All right. So think about now I want to give back to the people that are listening now. They're just starting out. They're in college, they're 22, 25, maybe they're 30, and they're lost. They're trying to get found. They're trying to go into the entrepreneurship. They want a better life for themselves. you run into a lot of these people at the events that are trying to change their lives. What would you leave as like best advice? If you could go back, would you do anything different, or what do you wish you would have found out sooner that you could have had greater impact?
Yeah, man. So for it really varies because, as I said,
I know,
everyone's different.
very
Like
very
it's very
general.
broad, but I think it's make a list of all the things that you like doing, that you hate doing, that you excel at, and that you're terrible at, and
Mm,
then triple down on your strengths
yeah,
and like try to find other people that enjoy the things that you suck at and hate doing, and that actually is their strength. For example, like I hate accounting, I hate like all these things. I outsource and delegate the crap out of that, but
yeah,
then I focus on things that I enjoy. A lot of people see money signs near to things like, oh, you can make killer money with, doing
yeah,
X,
yeah,
Y, Z, but they internally hate it. I'm telling you, like, it's not worth it. It's better off that you focus and on developing and finding ways to monetize something you enjoy more,
yeah,
opposed to going down a route where you hate it. And if you don't know what it is, it's a season of exploration, right? It
yeah,
doesn't hurt for you to try, different things
yeah,
for a period of time to see like what sticks.
yeah,
And the best way for that, especially if you don't have a lot of capital, is go intern, go learn for free, go consume content, go read books and see what resonates, and then go back to the formula. Like,
yeah,
am I enjoying this? Is this good? Is there upside potential? Um, and tripling down on that. In terms of like financially, if you don't have a lot of capital, I would say put yourself in positions where you can get compensated in proportion to the value that you create, opposed to
mm,
the time that you spend.
yeah,
Because a lot of people find themselves, oh, while I'm figuring out this entrepreneurship thing, I need to make money, so let me go get a job that pays based on my time spent. So I'm like, for you to do that, you're going to be spending a lot of time because you need to make money. Um, but you're only getting compensated by the amount of time you're spending, let's say 15 bucks an hour. So if you spend 30 hours, you're making 450 bucks. So that means you can put less time into your
yeah,
entrepreneurship development. For me, it's like, can I put 30 hours in my entrepreneurship development and figure out a way to make 450 bucks in 1 hour,
yeah,
doing something else to support myself while I'm doing that. So commission-based, sales-based jobs, referral-based jobs, for me, it was always like, I was really good at networking. So then I started in my beginning phases to be able to focus on entrepreneurship, establish strategic relationships with people that I met at events and whatever. I'm like, you have this service. I know a lot of people. Can I send you clients and you just send me commission? So I'd make maybe 5 to 10 grand a week just putting people in text group chat
connecting, yeah,
introductions.
yeah,
Hey,
connecting,
Gabe meets Anthony. He does this. He does this. I see synergies for you guys to connect. We'll let you guys take it from here.
yeah,
And then I'd magically just wake up to like a $500 commission there, $10,000 commission there.
yeah,
I'm like, whatever.
yeah,
And you see, with that, I created value for both individuals,
yep,
and I didn't have to spend much time on that, opposed to spending 30 hours and being capped on that.
yeah,
And I guess for the audience, people throw around the term, providing value. To me, that's like very vague, as of like buzzwords or something.
how can I provide value to
Yeah.
you?
And a lot of people come to, at events probably like, Gabe, I want to provide value to you. Like, let's connect. Let me pick your brain. Like, I want to be valuable. But like, you never take them up on it because, number one, I don't know what you do or what you're good
How
at,
can you be
right?
valuable to me?
Exactly. So I think you need to really reverse engineer, what does providing value really mean? For me, it's solving a problem for somebody
Hmm.
that they don't know how to yet solve or have the resources to solve yet. So I always come into the mindset of, and that's where a lot of people also stop. For example, let's say you need to build a funnel or a website. And my mindset is, I want to be valuable to Gabe. So I can say, Gabe needs a funnel. I have no clue how to build funnels or anything about funnels. So I can't be valuable to Gabe. End of conversation.
Yep,
Said, I shift my mindset and I'm like, I can still be valuable to Gabe. Who do I know
yep,
that knows how to build funnels? Let me connect them to. And now
yeah,
let's say Anthony behind the camera knows how to build funnels. I'll put you guys two in a group chat. And now I automatically create a value not only for you, but for Anthony,
yep,
because now I solved your problem of not knowing how to build a funnel and Anthony's problem of looking for a client
yeah,
that can pay him to build funnels.
yep.
And now I automatically get reciprocity from the both
You opened two
individuals.
doors that ended up, yeah, yeah, that's
And
insane.
exactly. So that's always been the mindset. And I encourage people to think about value in that, I guess, perspective. So that's, I guess, what I'm gonna leave us at with, since we're approaching
Cool.
the
Yeah, yeah.
the
Well,
time. But
let's
if you have
do
anything else,
one last thing. I think habits. You mentioned it, touched on it. What are some of the best daily habits that you've instilled in your life? Either keeping the right people around you, working out. Like, what is it for you that keeps you
yeah,
sharp?
I would say for me, I live, I guess, on the framework of being selfish in order to be selfless.
Mm,
So
Can you say that again?
you need to. I live in a framework of being selfish in order to be selfless.
Let's go.
So I believe that. So I guess habitually, the first 2 to 3 hours of my day, like nobody has access to me.
Yeah.
That's my time, like my sacred time to sharpen my brain, to read a book, to take care of my body, my mind, my like essentially fill up my cup, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't pour from a half empty cup or an empty cup. And then once I've had enough for myself, then I can go out into the world and spill over and have my cup and pour into everyone's cup. But if you don't have selfish time for yourself every single day for personal development, for things that you need to do to grow as an individual, you can't go into the world and serve other people.
Yeah.
So I would say that like that's the foundation, and everything else stacks on top of that. It's like, what do you do with that time? Like that's the other things. Like it could be the gym. It depends really like on what phase of life you're in. It could be the gym. It could be reading. It could be listening to a book. It could be a podcast, masterminds. It could be whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the first like 2 to 3 hours of the day, nobody really has access to me. You can't call me. You can't like, take my time from me. It's my selfish time. And then after that, it's like, go into the world and fire those people.
Put fires out.
Yeah.
All right. Where can people find you, Simon?
Social media, I would say Simon Lerner on all platforms, or like at Mr. Simon Lerner on Instagram. You guys can DM me with any questions. Would love to connect with you and help you in any way, shape, or form. Just don't ask to pick my brain.
And if you're local, follow Tampa Entrepreneurs. Come to the next event.
Yeah, we'd love to have you guys. Obviously, it's free to attend, and would love to meet you. Would love to see the people there. So had actually a couple of people from the deal room come out. So
let's go. We're getting there. All right. Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure you drop a like, comment, let us know whatever you want to see next time. And with that being said, we will see you in the next one.